last time where every 2 seconds it's, we haven't gotten them yet, we haven't gotten them yet. This trip, we're getting them. I'm freaking out right now. Oh my god. I've never done a trip where I've been in 3 different states before. Oh my god, it's right there. Oh goodness, it's pouring the rain. This right here was from when I was in the Adirondacks over the summer. July 8th is when I went up Whiteface Mountain and got Bicknell's thrush. And at the end of that little 2-part series that I had filmed, I said that I was going to be back up in the Northwoods soon in search of black-backed woodpecker and all the boreal birds that I missed on that trip. And I said I didn't know quite when that was going to be, but that it was going to be soon. And that time is right now, because in the morning, bright and early, I'm leaving for Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. So we're going to be birding in a few different states. And it's really, once again, going to be a photography and birding trip. The main targets this time is, of course, black-backed woodpecker, spruce grouse, which there's not as many of them, and they're technically in the Adirondacks, but they're really, really hard there. In some of the areas that I'm going to be looking in during this trip, they're not as hard. Callie is playing with her pumpkin hat. That's her noises that she makes when she's playing with her pumpkin hat. So, yeah. So I'm going to be looking for spruce grouse, boreal chickadee. Once again, I'm going to be looking for Canada jays. Hopefully this time I can find some really cooperative Canada jays, because that would be awesome to find some cooperative ones that I can really try out some wide-angle photography with. Maybe even try some photography with a remote shutter, which I just got. Don't know how to use, but I just got and want to try out. And that's kind of the main targets. And we're just going to kind of see how it goes. Also, crossbills, that's one thing I forgot to mention, like red crossbill, white-winged crossbill. There's been a decent amount of them up there. We're going to be up there for 3 days camping. And hopefully this time I can get some of those targets. And I also might do some wide-angle photography, like some landscape stuff too. So this is hopefully going to be a good trip. And we'll see what happens. But I'll see you guys in the morning on the road to, I think our first stop is going to be in New Hampshire. I think we're going to maybe hit White Mountain for boreal chickadees. And then we're probably going to hit Vermont. And then throughout the trip, kind of the main spots that we're kind of going to be in the very edge of Vermont, New Hampshire, and then the very edge of Maine. So we're kind of going to be in like that central kind of area where we're kind of going to be shooting around to a few different spots. So it should be good, and I'll see you there. So we have been on the road for a while now. There was a lot of traffic back in Jersey, and then we were through New York, and now we just made it to the first new state, a state that I've never been to, and that is Vermont. So we're actually, the first spot that we're actually going to be birding at is in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, but we're driving through southern Vermont to get there, and then we are going to be doing more birding in Vermont a little bit later in the trip. But this is pretty cool. This is Vermont. So on the way up, so far, not really a lot of bird activity in New York, but lots of ravens flying over the road, past a little lake with mergansers, common mergansers, double-crested cormorants, you know, kind of that kind of usual stuff. So stuff that worked for filling in some counties, but not anything all that good. But we'll see what we get in Vermont. Hopefully check off Bennington County, and I think there's another county too. And then we'll be in New Hampshire. So we have just made it to New Hampshire, and I just saw moose crossing signs. So that's how you know we're in New Hampshire, when you start seeing moose crossing signs. There are also a few moose crossing signs in Vermont too. That's one of the things, like, I know that's kind of gonna be tough, but I would love to photograph a moose up here. It's awesome up here. There's all mountains. It's funny because there's a lot of colorful foliage, but at the same time, it kind of looks like November in New Jersey, that, you know, a lot of the leaves are already gone. And as we were driving up, you could see, you know, how the leaves change and stuff. But right now, we're currently 15 minutes away from our first stop, so we're getting closer. It's a long ride, but we're getting there. So, we have just about made it to our first spot in the White Mountains, and so far the first birds at this location were dark-eyed junco and ruby-crowned kinglet. So it's really cool up here. It's crazy, but almost all the leaves are already off the trees, whereas, you know, back in New Jersey, the trees, they don't even have their full colors yet. So just crazy, but it's really awesome up here. This is what it looks like. Just driving down this road, and hopefully soon I'll be looking at some boreal chickadees. All right, so we've just gotten out here to the actual spot where people got boreal chickadee. Apparently not all that long ago. So far there's red-breasted nuthatches all over the place, some juncos, ruby-crowned kinglet, and boreal chickadees yet. It is really cold out here, much colder than I was expecting. Especially with the wind chill. It's only like 45 or something, but with the wind chill, it is really cold. And it's actually snowing a little bit, which is crazy. I think it's actually a little bit colder where we are now, because right now we're kind of more in the mountains, whereas before we weren't as much in the mountains. Hopefully, in between this wind, we can get a boreal chickadee to come out, because that would be really awesome. There's all red-breasted nuthatches singing all around, or not singing, calling, I should say. I don't know if they're mobbing something or what, but I'll tell you, if they are mobbing something, chances are in this spruce forest, especially this time of year, it's probably a saw-whet. We'll see what happens. Got red-breasted nuthatches right there, like so close. I wonder if one will like land on me or something. Like, they'll hand feed up here. Oh, if only I had my creature food. They're so close. Another one right there. It's crazy. Can't even shoot them, they're so close. I mean, I can with my phone, but not with my camera. Crazy little guys. Unfortunately, still no sign of boreal chickadee. But we're still out here, we're still trying. I don't want this to turn into the last time where every 2 seconds it's, we haven't gotten them yet, we haven't gotten them yet. This trip, we're getting them. We're getting something good this trip. All right, so exciting things just happened. I was walking along that trail a little bit, wasn't getting anything, so I came back to the parking lot because that's where they said they were getting them in the eBird report that I saw, and I came back down in the parking lot, and I was hearing one call. It came in a bit, but the problem was it was staying pretty deep. As you can kind of see, there's all these spruce trees around, and it was staying more like more towards the trunk of the spruce trees. Some black-capped chickadees and red-breasted nuthatches were coming out and were giving some good views, but the boreal kind of was sticking towards the trunk. So I actually think there were 2 boreals. I'm gonna give it a little bit, and hopefully I can get some shots. But I did get it, and that's more than I can say for my last trip up north. So I did get boreal chickadee this time. Second ever boreal chickadee. Now it's time for some shots. So, oh my goodness. Our first target of the trip has been acquired. Boreal chickadee, got at least 2 of them. Unfortunately, I got a few like dock shot type pictures, not all the shots that I was looking for, unfortunately. But I mean, this is our first day here, and I guess a few things. One, we're gonna be in boreal chickadee habitat the entire time that we're here, so there is definitely a chance that I might get some other opportunities to get them. Although I don't know how likely that is because I haven't really seen a lot of reports of them being in other areas. There is a chance. And the other thing is this is more than I can say for my last trip up to the boreal forest when I didn't even hear stuff, you know, let alone get to see it. So I was able to see it, get some good views. There were probably at least 2. They were, like I said, kind of deep in the spruce trees, but we got them. I was able to photograph a red-breasted nuthatch pretty well back in the woods. So that was nice. I always love red-breasted nuthatches, and there were over 20 of them at this spot. It's crazy. So now it's not all that, I mean, it's getting kind of late in the day. It's around 4 o'clock now. And the biggest thing is we're going to be camping once again, like we were in the Adirondacks. And the campsite, there's a lot of campsites, cabins, all that stuff is kind of closed down here for the season. So there was one campsite that it looked like we were going to stay at, but we were actually going to head up earlier in the week. Our trip wound up getting pushed to later in the week because there was a nor'easter coming through, and it was really bad, rain and wind, and it just really wouldn't have been worth coming up here to try to see or photograph anything. So we're coming up later in the week, and we don't know if our campsite is still available. So hopefully it's not that we wind up sleeping in Walmart parking lot or something, but that's what we're trying to do now. Is we're trying to rush over to our campsite, which is further north, because that's mainly the areas where we're going to be birding at, is further north around Maine, and then Essex County, Vermont, and more northern New Hampshire. So we're going to go over there and see what happens, but I'm very excited that we were able to get boreal chickadee, even if I did not get pictures. They're such a cool bird, and the trip's just getting started. And I'll tell you this much, this trip is off to a much better start than the Adirondack trip. Not that the Adirondack trip was bad at all, but getting boreal chickadee at the beginning of the trip, like that is really awesome. So we just made it here to where we're getting dinner now. We made it to the campsite. I think we can stay there for the night. I don't know. It seems like we can. Hopefully we don't get kicked out. And now we're just getting some dinner, which is actually right near the spot that we're going to be headed in the morning and also tonight. And that's a spot for spruce grouse, blackback woodpecker, Canada jay, also known as gray jay, you know, any of that boreal stuff. And yeah, so we'll see what happens. It's kind of similar habitat kind of up here, in my opinion, to the Adirondacks, but it is, like, you could definitely tell it's not the Adirondacks. It's definitely different up here. It's different habitat, different area. That's what's so cool about traveling, getting all the different areas. So, we're out here right now in Vermont. We're going to be listening for some sawwhits and stuff. I don't know if it'll show up on film, but the sky, it just looks incredible. There's so many stars. And do you hear that? Like, it's completely quiet. There's nothing, which is so unusual. It's so weird. It's so cool. That's a freaking sawwhite owl. there's 3. Because there's 2 over there, and then there was one behind us. I'm just
And you got a recording.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of recordings. I can't believe it. So I keep trying to track down these saws, and I can't see them at all because they're really deep in all these spruce trees and all these cedars. It's super thick in here. But there's probably at least like 4, maybe even 5. They're calling, they're doing their cat-like calls, they're everywhere. It's so crazy, and it's so cool to get to hear them all over the place. And if I'm honest, I did not think I was gonna get one. So I can't believe it. We're just finishing driving down the road a little bit now. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see them, but like, I mean, holy crap. Was it so cool to hear them calling all, like literally all around. And I really, like, I was coming out here to listen for saw-whets, but I didn't think I was gonna hear any. So basically what kind of happened is we kind of got lost. There's very, very little reception out here. So we went to the campsite just briefly. And then we went to get dinner. Then I kind of broke my binoculars because they were wrapped in my coat. Forgot that they were wrapped in my coat, and they were wrapped in my coat because I didn't know where the case went, which it turned out it was under the seat. When I went to pick up my coat, they fell on the road, and the eye cups are broken. But then we ate dinner, and then we were like, you know what? It's still, let's just try it. I was thinking, you know, let's just try for saw-whets and kind of see what we could get, because right now saw-whets are kind of migrating through. They're kind of coming south. There's even, you know, all the banding sites in New Jersey are opening up. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just give it a shot. There's strong northwest winds tonight, and I was just thinking that's, you know, northwest winds is what's pushing everything down. So I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot and see what happens. And I mean, I probably said this a lot of times at this point, but I thought there was no way I was going to get any. That the fact that I got one, and the fact that I got multiple is really insane. Especially because I've tried listening for saw-whets multiple nights, and I've never heard anything. And the cool thing is we're here again tomorrow night, too. So I have a second shot at potentially getting photos. And I wonder what the chances are that we could find one during the day, because this spot that we're at right now is actually the spot that I'm going to be at, burning a lot at tomorrow morning. It sounded just like that. See? What does it feel like to customize your car insurance? Oh, come on. Really? So we just made it back to New Hampshire. We were actually in Vermont. That's where we got the saw-whets. We're kind of bouncing back and forth. We're right on the border of Vermont and New Hampshire. But we're working our way back to the campsite. Gonna go back to the campsite, get the tent set up, and then we're gonna wake up really early in the morning and head back out to the spot where we just were. Let me just tell you, the trip is really off to a really amazing start, getting both boreal, chickadee, and saw-whet. I got both my 2 targets for today. I got. So we haven't missed any targets yet. The only downside so far was kind of breaking my binoculars, but I'm glad that we're getting good stuff. And then tomorrow we're gonna really hit it hard. Hopefully be able to get some good pictures, because that is something I'd really like to do, some good photography of some of this stuff, and we'll see what happens. So we're back at the campground, and we're in the car. We wound up putting all of our stuff into the tent, and since it's kind of cold out, we're gonna sleep in the car, and then we'll be up bright and early in search of spruce grouse. So see you then. We just got to the parking lot, and right there, we got Canada Jay. So cool.